In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praises are due to Allah, and may His peace and blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad. Sincere thanks to the From DC to Deen team. And a reminder to our listeners, my team and I are not affiliated with any organization or movement, with the exception that we are Muslims. Now, before we start, do us a big favor. Help us grow our podcast, okay? By hitting that subscribe button and giving us some thumbs ups. And please leave us some comments. And we thank you in advance for your support. In this episode, I will share and prove how God will give you what you really deserve, what you want, and what you need, even though sometimes you might not know that you deserve it, or you might not know that you want it, or you may even not know that you need it. SubhanAllah. Now, my intentions for this podcast is definitely to do dawah. Dawah involves guiding others, both Muslims and non-Muslims, to the truth, promoting good, and establishing justice and mercy in society. Every Muslim has a role to play in dawah, whether through words, actions, or support. Engaging in dawah not only helps others, but also will strengthen my own faith, and it will contribute to the unity and strength of the Muslim community, inshallah ta'ala. God says in the Quran, this is English translation, quote, invite all to the way of your Lord, example, Islam, with wisdom and kind advice, and only debate with them in the best manner. Surely your Lord alone knows best who has strayed from his way and who is rightly guided. And this is in Surah 16 and Nahl, verse 125. Now, also let me explain to you that dawah is not a form of forcing someone to accept Islam. The goal is to share the truth about Islam. And now, let's get into the audio portion of this episode. Stay tuned, relax yourself, and we hope that you will enjoy it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You know what, listeners? Looking back, the dress code in Islam just seemed so strange to me, and I never thought that I would ever be caught with my head covered the way it is suggested that Muslim women should cover themselves. Modesty for me was the way I wanted it to be, but to wear a scarf all day long on my head and wear long clothes, especially during the summer. How could I survive in 100-degree weather with a scarf covering my head and clothes covering my entire body? I had always believed that in summer, wearing less meant staying cooler. But as I mentioned before, I seem to have been learning things in reverse. Therefore, I stuck with my jeans and dresses and shorts and such, and I was content. But I do believe that God will give you what you really deserve, what you want, and what you need. And sometimes you might not know that you deserve it, that you want it, or that you need it. SubhanAllah. Case in point, God is great because about a year and a half after Steve made Hajj, one of the sisters who made Hajj with their group, she passed away. I thought it would be appropriate for me to dress like a Muslim woman when it came time to attend her funeral. So, I purchased a sewing pattern for a simple king's robe costume and some black rayon fabric. And I made a long, loose, fitting black dress that reached down to my feet. It was simple and easy. I had learned how to sew back in junior high school, in the days when schools had home economic classes rather. And I also purchased myself a black headscarf, and I was dressed entirely in black from head to toe. When Steve and I arrived at the masjid for the funeral, as we were going inside the masjid, the imam asked Steve if he could pay me a compliment. Steve said, yes. And the imam said to Steve, your wife looks really nice, because they had not seen me covered before this day. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, if I received compliments like that while dressed this way, I can submit to wearing the long clothes and the scarf. And the rest is history. It has now been 38 years, and I have been fully covered ever since. I love it, and I am proud of it. MashaAllah. Now, another story. Somewhere along the way, within our first 2 years of being Muslims, Steve decided that he wanted to legally change his name. We talked about what he would name himself, and at the time we decided that whatever he chose, he should make his last name Muhammad to coincide with my last name, which is Muhammad, especially since we were not married and really did not have any intentions on getting married. What did we know? However, a great deal of thought and consulting friends for their opinions and suggestions, Steve chose the name Ismail Muslim Muhammad. At the time, I had begun trying to come up with a name for myself as well, asking brothers and sisters for suggestions. However, in my opinion, none of the names seemed to truly fit me. So I decided to keep my name, and instead of introducing myself as Jackie, I would introduce myself as Jackie Muhammad. And the Muhammad would automatically associate me with being a Muslim. That was my rationale. And it was explained to me that changing my name was not mandatory unless my name had a derogatory meaning, and it did not. Again, I ask Allah to please forgive us for all of the things that we did and the things that we did not do, simply because we did not know any better. So Steve legally became Ismail Muslim Muhammad, and we were both so very proud. But I suppose this is the moment when I should finally tell the story about how we were not married and how we ended up getting married. I am literally, my dear listeners, convinced that God will give you what you really deserve, what you want, and what you need. And sometimes you might not know that you deserve it, that you want it, or that you need it. And you don't know when and where you may get it, because only Allah knows what is best for us. Subhanallah. Case in point. One day, Ismail and I were at a friend's automotive shop having some work done on our car. The owner was not Muslim, and that particular day, another Muslim brother and his wife were also there waiting on their vehicle to be repaired, along with a few other people. From the conversations that were happening, I learned that this particular Muslim brother had been Muslim for many years and knew a great deal about Islam, and was very proficient in reciting and understanding the Quran. I believe that Ismail and I may have seen him and his wife once or twice before that day. Nevertheless, As we all waited, the conversation naturally turned to Islam, and different topics came up. And at some point, someone referred to Ismail and me as husband and wife. Well, Ismail and I looked at each other in the strangest way and said together, "We're not married." And I thought to myself, I'm not ashamed of that, because what did we know? We were learning things in reverse. And we had not learned that a Muslim man and woman cannot live together intimately without being married. The brother reacted immediately and said, "What? You're not married? But you're Muslims?" This brother was so shocked, and we were so surprised at his reaction. And he said, "You can't live together without being married." And we together honestly said to him, "We didn't know that." He said, "I'm going to marry you two right now." He said, "We have enough witnesses here, because you cannot continue to live together unmarried." He then said a few things. He asked me some questions. I answered them. He asked Ismail some questions. He answered. He recited from the Quran and explained to us what he had said in English. And just like that, within a few minutes, we were married. MashaAllah. I remember thinking, wow, what did we know? God gave us what we needed when we needed it. And that was that we needed to be married. SubhanAllah. Now, after us becoming Muslims, nearly 1.5 years later, we were married in an auto mechanics shop. That marriage did not cost us a penny, and it lasted for the next 21 years until Ismail passed away in 2009. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and all of those that have returned to him. Ameen. Now, I keep asking Allah to please forgive us for all the things that we did not do and the things that we did simply because we did not know any better. Now, in my early years, there were things in Islam that I didn't understand, why they were not allowed or why they were mandatory and such. And there were things that Islam required that I never thought I could submit to. And I keep saying that we learn things in reverse. But in Islam, it is mandatory that every Muslim seek knowledge. And that is that is something that people should do on their own, as well as under the supervision of a constructed curriculum and a qualified instructor. And mashallah, we got to where we needed to be. And after I found that teacher, I was learning how to correctly seek knowledge. And I am truly grateful to Allah for that. And the more I learned, the more it seems I needed to learn. And after I began reading books from our collection and gathering other books, especially works by English-speaking Islamic scholars, I felt, mashallah, that I was at least on the right path. Still, I knew there was so much more for me to learn to comprehend and implement in my life. But as time passed, things gradually became clear and a bit easier to understand and apply. MashaAllah. Now, looking back, I realized I could not have understood everything any better at that time because understanding comes with knowledge and experience. As I started learning about the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, learning how to pray, how to make wudu, how to learn how to worship Allah properly, how we should have been married, how I should dress, how Ismail should have kept his family name, and so many other things. I felt myself moving into this space of wanting to learn more and more and more. Ultimately, you seem to be evolving into someone better when you learn. Bi'idhnillah, inshallah. Now, at that stage, it was about me fixing myself to fit into the Deen of Islam. Because you may remember, as I stated before in another episode, Islam does not adjust itself to appease people's likes and dislikes. There's a certain level of learning and guidance needed to truly grasp the wisdom behind what are often misunderstood rules, regulations, guidelines, and such. And because of that, I can now see that it is frequently this lack of understanding that can prevent a person from accepting Islam. This is why we as Muslims carry a huge responsibility to engage in dawah, to help those who do not yet understand the beauty and wisdom of this perfect way of life. And I ask God to forgive Ismail and me for all the things we did and did not do simply because we did not know any better. And I'm going to stop here and continue next week if God wills it. Thank you for your time, your attention, your support. Until then, peace. And it's time to pray Maghrib.